every relationship, every time a man and a woman interact, there's a frame around it. The question is, whose frame are you operating in? Yours or hers? Because here's the thing. If you're in her frame, you're playing by her rules. She's in control. She's leading the vibe. And guess what? In her reality, you're just another guy trying to impress her, and she's going to take advantage of that. But when she steps into your frame, everything changes in an instant. So in this video, we're going to talk about frame control, and I'm going to teach you the dominant masculine frame that brings her into your reality so that she starts to follow your lead and chase your approval, where she sees you as the high value man that she wants to be around. Hi, I'm Bobby Rio, and this video is about instilling the dominant masculine frame that keeps you in control so that you own the reality that you and a woman are operating in. The one who owns the reality wins the game, period. Now, I want to start by defining this concept of a frame, and I want to do it as simply as I can. So a frame is basically the invisible set of rules or expectations that govern an interaction. So if a guy approaches a woman at a bar, and he tells her that she's beautiful, and then he asks if he can buy her a drink. Meanwhile, she's only half paying attention, she's giving her friends the help me eyes, and she's trying to position her body away from him. Well, the frame around that interaction is he's trying to pick me up. So the guy is going to clash with that frame, right? She's not going to make it easy for him, because whoever has the stronger frame controls the flow of the interaction. So if her frame is stronger, he's going to struggle to find things to say. He's going to start asking her questions, trying to impress her. Now, here's the thing. Women are very socially intelligent, which means they can feel this instantly, whether you're leading her or following her. Are you conforming to her reality, or is she conforming to yours? Now, the problem is most guys have a very weak frame. And the minute that they're attracted to a girl, their frame gets absorbed by hers, so that you end up chasing her approval and she feels it. And there's something about overpowering a man where she'll lose interest very, very quickly. Now, this may seem abstract, but it's constantly playing out in almost every social interaction, this idea of a frame. Here's a concrete example that you're probably familiar with. If you've ever been pulled over by a police officer, think of that frame. He's the authority. He walks over, he tells you to roll your window down, he doesn't even say hi, he just says license and registration, and you're just hoping that you don't say anything wrong. You're trying to avoid a ticket, you're trying to be nice. Oh, good afternoon, officer, right? You're nervous. The frame is obvious. He's 100% in control, and he knows it. Unfortunately for a lot of guys, it's that obvious to a woman that she controls the frame with you. Okay, so to help illustrate even further, I want to give you another quick example from a client that I just started working with, and a woman that he's been pursuing for the past few months. Now, he'd been, spinning his wheels with her, just confused by her hot and cold behavior, all the classic sort of emotional quicksand type of situations that I deal with a lot, where every time she pulls back, he's chasing her harder, he's texting her more, he's brainstorming date ideas that he can take her on to prove himself, thinking that this is what's going to win her over. But in reality, every time he did that, he was stepping deeper into her frame, which means that he's playing by her rules. You've probably dealt with a girl where it's pretty clear that she's calling the shots. You're reacting to her. You're following her schedule, her timetable. You're even adjusting your behavior based on her whims and her moods. Even things like her sense of humor, her interests, what she likes, what she doesn't like. When a woman has total control of the frame, a guy would trash his own mom to get rapport with her. Right? That's how strong it is. So my client is in this situation, and the time that she agrees to meet up with him, very often the interaction would go like this. He'd spend most of the time trying to keep the conversation going. He'd feel this pressure to keep her entertained, asking, questions and just overly laughing at her jokes and seeking approval. And, even though she was there physically, Emotionally, I can almost guarantee that she was drifting because he was stuck in her frame. And the natural state for a female is to want to enter into a man's frame. It's very weak for a man to get absorbed into a woman's frame. So when she's dominating the frame, it's very hard for her to stay interested. Now, this happened to be a client that I just dealt with, but when most guys start recounting their situations to me when we do coaching, this is something that I see over and over. And the worst part is when you're not aware of this, you have no clue that you're operating in this frame. And you actually feel lucky to get the scraps of attention or approval that you get from her. When you're operating in somebody else's frame, it's like your needs and desires, even your entire personality, becomes secondary to theirs. And this just doesn't only happen with women. Sometimes when we're with or around a high status guy or a boss or just a guy who intimidates us a bit, his frame absorbs ours. And it's like our personality takes a back seat to his. So frame dictates everything. So the question becomes, how do you control the frame so that she's entering your reality and you're leading the interaction, the vibe, in that dominant masculine way that she craves from a man? Because here's a big secret. She wants that. A woman wants to be with a man whose reality is so strong that she folds into it. Because the moment she feels your frame is stronger, she can relax. And that's what she wants. She wants to relax into that feminine role, which is where she truly wants to be. But most men don't understand this. And they unknowingly hand the power over to her. So how do you actually take control of the frame, and not just take control of it, but actually keep it, right? Because it's very easy to lose it once you stumble. Well, the first is a very simple mindset shift. The next time that you're with her, instead of thinking, how do I impress her? Flip it to, how do I let her experience me? This subtle shift changes things from seeking her approval to owning your reality, and she'll feel that difference immediately. And what I mean by how do I get her to experience me is that you stop worrying about what she thinks, and instead you focus on being in your own element. You're not performing for her, you're inviting her into your world, and you're letting her feel the confidence and the strength that comes from a man who doesn't need to chase approval. A lot of it is even just amusing yourself, right? We've all been with friends or people we're comfortable with, and we are in our own reality. And we're not thinking is this joke going to make them laugh? Or is this story going to make me look impressive? We're just enjoying our own reality. We're making a joke that amuses us. We're telling a story that we want to tell. And that's what I mean by living in your own reality. You're not dictating your behavior because of what you think it's going to impress upon the other person. Okay, so for instance, with this mindset, instead of nervously feeling that pressure to fill every silence, you'd let the quiet moments hang because you're comfortable in your own skin. Or instead of agreeing with everything that she says, you'd playfully challenge her, showing her that you're not afraid to push back a little bit when she says something that doesn't line up with your values or you have a different opinion. You also want to think, what are the masculine traits that build a very strong frame, a frame that's not easily shaken? Think about traits like decisiveness, certainty, and being grounded in your values. A strong frame comes from a place of knowing who you are, what you want, and not needing her approval to feel validated. This naturally pulls her into your reality. This is why the more you're in touch with your goals, your values, your purpose, the more what I call being autonomous, the more autonomous you are, the more your frame naturally begins being the overpowering one in an interaction. So one tip to try out is just forcing yourself to pull back your attention while you're talking to her. Pull back your need for approval. I talk in another video of mine about the validation vacuum. And this really is a frame battle, right? Where when you pull back, it's almost like you force the other person to invest more because someone needs to fill that vacuum. It's human nature, right? Obviously, if you've been operating in the nice guy frame for a while, this is not going to come easy at first. So how do you do it, right? How do you make this change? Well, part of it comes from the de-idolization of women, where you realize that you've been putting women on a pedestal, making their approval of you the center of your world. And this idolization warps you because it warps your frame, because now you're operating from a position of inferiority. And the moment that you realize that she's not some mystical, unattainable figure, but just another person with flaws and all, it's easier to get into that masculine frame, but you got to drill that into your mind. So here's sort of a not politically correct thing to say, but the reality is for centuries, right? Almost since the beginning of time, the masculine frame has always been the stronger one. That's why women are hardwired to respond to it. I mean, from an evolutionary standpoint, is she more likely to survive in the jungle with a man who's got that dominant masculine frame, or the guy with the weak, nice guy frame? From an evolutionary standpoint, just being a man brings value to a woman. De-idolization of women is about recognizing that you bring value to the table and you don't need to chase her validation. The caveat is you have to act like a man. So how do you begin changing the frame of your interactions with women? Well, here's the thing. It's easy to say, I'm gonna keep my frame, I'm gonna project masculinity, but the true test is when she pushes back against you, and she will. Because women know that any guy can temporarily fake confidence or masculinity. So she's gonna test you or even try to trap you. And in these moments, is where most guys crumble, right? They either get defensive, they start seeking validation, or they overcompensate trying to win back her approval. But when you maintain your frame, when you can stay calm and unfazed by her tests, that's when she starts to see you as the real deal. Someone that she can respect and be attracted to and feel safe entering into your reality. So you almost want to look at these moments of conflict or her tests as windows of opportunity to reestablish the frame. So an example from the client that I mentioned earlier. So as I had him start interacting with her in this more dominant frame, and I told him, sort of subtle things to do and changes, like clockwork, she began setting these traps and testing him. For a woman, when a nice guy all of a sudden starts to man up, she's gonna test you because she thinks it's an act. She's gonna throw comments out. She's gonna try to break that frame. Now, she won't always be direct as this woman was, but what this woman was she started to bring up something from my client's past interactions, hinting that he wasn't always this confident. And she literally says, "You've changed and I'm not sure I like the new you." Now, before we worked together, he would have gotten defensive. He would have probably tried to explain himself or even apologized, right? I mean, listen, we can all talk tough, and I see it in the comments all the time, but if a girl we like says, "I don't know if I like this new you," our natural reaction would be to try to smooth things over, right? But instead, he just smiled and said, "Maybe, but I like this me a lot better." And he didn't justify anything. He didn't seek her approval. He simply stayed grounded in his new frame. It's moments like these where a woman is testing you a bit that you have the opportunity to bring her into your reality by owning the frame. So instead of reacting to her tests or trying to win her approval, you're showing her that your frame isn't easily shaken. And that's what she needs to see. I'll say it again because it's almost a cheat code. Women are naturally attracted to men whose reality feels stronger than theirs. It's hardwired into them from millions of years of evolution, and it's what makes her feel safe, excited, intrigued. Now, before we go further, I want to get a sense of, do you understand this concept of frames and frame control? I know it's a little bit, abstract. So let me know in the comments section, because if not, I will go deeper into this in another video because it really is that important. Like I said, it's a cheat code. Okay, so now I want you to think about the current frame that you're putting out into the world. Not just with women, but especially when it comes to women, but just in general, right? Because so many guys, and I was like this myself for a very long time, I approached women with that nice guy frame. This is a frame that tries to invite a woman in by showing her that you're harmless, you're nice, you're easy to talk to. You try to compliment her so she feels good about herself. The problem with this frame is that it pushes your most masculine qualities to the back burner. It almost hides them from her. It also puts her in the position of power where she feels like she's the one who has to lead or decide, or she's the judge. She's deciding whether you're worth her attention. Now, the nice guy frame might seem like a safe approach, but it signals weakness. You're essentially telling her that you're playing it safe because you're not confident enough to show her your true masculine self. And women pick up on this. They're not stupid. I said it earlier. They have a lot of social intelligence. They pick it up on it instantly, which is why the nice guy frame never works. So you have to be conscious of it as it's happening. And one thing that I tell clients is when you feel yourself reacting to her frame, immediately flip the script as quickly as possible. A simple way to do this is to subtly shift the conversation or just change the topic completely, right? Just change the conversation thread and don't feel weird about it, right? Or something even as like standing taller or pulling back slightly and letting her lean in to regain your attention. And it also involves not forfeiting your status for the sake of being liked. A lot of guys make the mistake of toning down their personality or holding back their opinions to avoid rocking the boat. But when you do that, you're subconsciously telling her that her approval is more important than your own sense of self. Now, the key to keeping your strong frame is to stay true to who you are, even if it means she might not agree with you, or she might not like you, or you risk some friction with her. In fact, that friction can actually work in your favor, right? It creates tension, and tension fuels attraction. I mean, one of the big reasons that nice guys have so much trouble attracting women is because they are afraid of tension. And I talked about this recently in my video called Your Masculinity is the Sexiest Thing About You. Tension is a key ingredient to attraction. Now, another part of it is understanding that it's your responsibility to take control of an interaction, meaning if you sense that the date is not going well, or the location is boring, just say, hey, I know a better place, let's go there. And at the end of the night, it's your responsibility to go for the kiss. You have to be in control of moving things forward, of leading the vibe, of escalating. These are all the masculine qualities. They're part of the masculine frame. Now, if you're tired of always reacting, always feeling like you're trying to live up to her expectations, that you're never in control, then it's time to flip the script. Operating in the masculine frame is so much more fun. Imagine walking into any interaction with the confidence that you set the tone, that you're gonna lead the vibe, that you create it, that she's drawn into your reality. In my free class, 3 Steps to Status, Value, and Power, I break down exactly how to take control of the frame, exactly how to project that high status, dominant, masculine energy, and most importantly, how to keep women chasing you. There's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to the topic of masculinity or the topic of being high status. A lot of guys mistakenly believe that status is about money or connections or looks, but really being masculine, being high status is about the internal price tag that you put on yourself and how you project that to a woman. And what the class does is it shows you how to place value on yourself, and then how to communicate that value and how to build a reputation amongst all the people in your social life as being this high value, high status guy. So there's a link to the class below. It's completely free. The class is all about perception. It's all about how people perceive you, which is that frame, and how you can control the way somebody perceives you, especially women. That's a really important distinction. You are in control of how you're perceived by other people, and that's what this class digs into. How to control that perception so that you're seen by the women in your life as having high value, of having high status, as being socially powerful, being masculine. So if you're ready to transform how women see you, and finally become the man who leads every interaction instead of being led, I want to invite you to sign up for the free class. Just click the link below in the description. I'll show you the exact steps to become the guy that women are drawn to. Now, don't miss out on this. Register at the link in the description below this video. And also, if you like this video, hit like, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment letting me know what you'd like me to cover in the next video. And also, like I said earlier, let me know if you understand frame control, and also pass this video along to somebody in your life who needs to hear this message.